the Lakers Facebook page.
Okay. Yeah, I just I sent out a tweet, put up an Instagram story, and put out a Facebook post tagging you guys in each post. So hopefully that'll gain some traction.
I hope
Is there a way? Is there a way to share the this link that we have now?
Yeah, let me see what I can go ahead and do for you right now.
Okay.
All right. So let's see if it comes up. It's because it says that we're on live right now. Hold on. Find me that page. There we go. Actually, you know what? Let me just go ahead and. Oh, that's why. It'd be nice if I go ahead and hit the go live button for Facebook Live. Been live on YouTube, but not on Facebook Live until right now. I use two different programs. That's why. So.
Oh, okay. Got you.
So here we go. And I will send that link ASAP right now.
Cool.
And in the meantime. All right. And we're back for another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from the Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone listening to all of our great shows. And if you can, please give us that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We would truly appreciate it because it really helps us out as far as getting new fans to listen to our show, because we think we do a lot of great things here at the show. We have a lot of interviews coming up. I mean, I reached out and a lot of people came back, said, I want to be on the show. They want to talk NBA. They want to talk basketball. They want to talk the Lakers. So I truly appreciate everyone out there going ahead and wanting to be a part of it. And in fact, if you hear my commercial coming up later in the show, it's going to tell you a lot about some of the guests that are going to be coming up here on the program, including this one right here, who I've got. And he's just a tremendous guest, a huge Lakers fan. If you're watching on Facebook Live, as you can see, he's got Will Chamberlain, one of my all-time favorite players. I think one of the most dominant players in the history of the game. Kobe Bryant, need I say more? And Anthony Davis, who we hope will be helping the Lakers on the way and on the drive.
I'm also rocking the Kuzma jersey as well.
We'll get to Kuzma here in a second. The Kuz is coming up in a sec, but we're hoping Anthony AD will be able to go ahead and drive the Lakers towards the championship. Plus, he's got the Kyle Kuzma. He's, like you said, you're rocking it right now. All right there for you. Kuz, I still love. In fact, I'm here in Vegas, as I told you. I got to see him firsthand in his first Summer League game, and I still have a great affinity for the gentleman. I think things can work out for him, and he is, to me, the X factor going forward in the playoffs. So we'll be talking about all that stuff and more coming up here. But first, let me introduce my guest today. If you have not checked out his show, the Sports Kingdom Show, which you should find under TSKS Show, that's the TSK Show, on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's Spotify. I've actually got right now for our viewers up on Stitcher, his Stitcher podcast link right there for you. But if you can, check out his awesome program today. He's also a part of the great radio station in Los Angeles, KFI 640 AM, something that I was familiar with for many years, listening all the time when I was on the road. Well, actually, was on the road a lot, and if you know LA freeways, you're on the road a lot.
Oh.
But I'll tell you what, it's a great guest indeed. He's here to talk some Lakers. It is Eric, the Duke of Sports, Sklar, and Eric. I'm just so great to have you back on the. Actually, I'm great to have you on the program.
Well, Gerald, thank you so much for having me. I saw your post in that sports podcast group on Facebook. And I believe I was the first person to respond. And I mean, if someone wants to talk Lakers basketball, I'm always game for it. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm ready to rock.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's just an honor having you here. I just truly appreciate it. I hope you got that link for your social media followers out there. I was able to go ahead.
I'm about to tweet it out right now. My Twitter at the Duke of Sports on Twitter, Instagram, all of that.
Sweet.
I'm going to tweet out the link right now.
I'm just indebted to you for doing that. And if you get a chance, everyone out there, listen to our previous shows. I've had Rafael Barlow from the NBA Draft Junkies, such a tremendous guest each and every time out. Laker Tom from Lakerholics.net. Also got one coming up with him and Jamie Sweet from Lakerholics.net. So that's a great Lakers site right there for you. So many other great guests coming along the way. So if you get a chance, check out a lot of our great shows here at the Lakers Fast Break, Lakers Fast Break, including Rafael Esparza, NBA and Vegas odds maker and insider. Just truly cannot thank him enough for taking the time to speak to me. And there's so many others on the way. I'll tell you what, it's just a great time indeed because we're getting closer. We're in the bubble now. The Lakers are in that bubble. And we're getting closer to that period of time when we can start saying that the team is underway. But I saw the YouTube videos with Anthony Davis commenting about how great of a practice it was and how great it was to be back on the practice floor and all that. But wouldn't you know, the next practice after that, Rajon Rondo breaks the finger on his oft-injured hands. And Rafael and I were talking about how his hands are so large, we may think that's just probably, I don't know, just to throw something out there, maybe one of the reasons why he gets so injured, because Bobby Marks was saying that, at least over a dozen times he's had hand or finger injuries like this, where it's necessitated time off. It's about 6 to 8 weeks. He's going to have surgery on it. But Eric, I want to hear your thoughts. When you heard the news about Rajon Rondo and his injury, I know he's a very divisive figure here in Lakers land. And if you've heard our shows before, even with my battles with Laker Tom, he has been a very divisive figure. I'm thinking, like Rafael, that it might be a benefit for the Lakers going forward. But I want to hear your thoughts before I go ahead and say, I don't want to say anything out of maliciousness or anything like that.
No. I don't think anybody wishes anybody to get hurt.
No. And nobody wishes that or get sick or the coronavirus or anything of that nature.
No.
But I want to hear your thoughts, Eric, on your insight on this. It is an injury. It hurts an already depleted depth chart for the guards out there, especially with Avery Bradley out. But I still want to hear your thoughts on how this will affect the Lakers going forward.
Well, you mentioned the Bobby Marks tweet. He said that since 2010, 2011, that Rajon Rondo has injured his hands 13 times, 11 on his left hand and I believe 2 on his right hand.
Yeah.
And he said that he's missed a total of 55 games because of these injuries.
Not counting the ones coming up in Orlando.
Yeah, not counting the ones coming up in Orlando. Now, 55 games over 10 years, not including the ones coming up. That's not that bad, but 13 injuries on your hands in 10 years, that says something. I think Rajon Rondo's hands might be made of glass at this point.
Yeah.
But I think, like you were saying, Rajon Rondo he's been a divisive figure in Lakerland this year. I've definitely been more on the side against Rajon Rondo. I really don't think he's contributed as much or what he was expected to be contributing this year. I think he serves the team better as the third guard or even in more of a coach's role, like we saw earlier in the season when he was injured for an extended amount of time, how much impact he had just being a voice for the team and not necessarily on the court. So I think it does suck, obviously, given the circumstances that the team is in, being in the Orlando bubble and the restrictions teams have with replacement players. You can't replace Rajon Rondo in this instance. If he was sitting out for coronavirus or social justice or what many of the other concerns that players had about the NBA bubble, you could have replaced him. But because he got hurt, you can't replace him. So it definitely puts the Lakers in an interesting position. But I don't really think that their guard unit is that depleted. They still have Alex Caruso. They still have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Dion Waiters has yet to play for the Lakers. We acquired him before the suspension of the season, but he had yet to make his debut. I think he's going to have a great impact. I don't necessarily think Dion Waiters will be the primary ball handler or offensive playmaker. I think that still falls on LeBron, especially now with Rondo being out. But I don't necessarily think the guard unit is depleted. I forgot about KCP, who Lakers fans seem to have bullied into playing well this year. So it's I'm not too devastated about Rajon Rondo being injured, if that's the simplest way to put it.
I'm not either. And again, those who have listened to the show on many of occasions have heard my battles back and forth with Laker Tom from Lakerholics.net. I look at statistics, I look at analytics, and I see Rajon Rondo in the past 2 years, outside of that stretch when he first came back from injury earlier this year, being a detriment out on the floor. I mean, the plus
100%.
minus. When he was shooting 50% for those 10 games, and you and I were, and everybody else were probably thinking, this is like, wow, an anomaly or something. What's going on here? Then he came back to form, and everybody. I was saying to Rafael Barlow from NBA Draft Junkies that there's when you're out there on the floor, and he's out there on the floor, it's like a parking lot, because everybody goes ahead and gives him so much space to go ahead and shoot the ball, because once his numbers started dropping, his confidence started dropping, and his effectiveness on the floor, he slowed down. He's not as quick. He's not as fast. He's obviously in his 30s now, so he's not going to be helping you on the defensive end as much as he once did. And in fact, statistically, last year and this year, he is one of the worst defenders on the team, which was his calling card for so many years. And it just seemed kind of irritating at times for Lakers fans to see Rondo get extended minutes, and LeBron and Frank Vogel have so much confidence in him to play him continuously, even out on the floor with Rondo and LeBron. And then when LeBron came off the floor as a second playmaker, and that's the only thing I would have an issue or concern about, is when LeBron goes out, it's going to be limited minutes in the playoffs, mind you, because he's going to ramp up his minutes, because you want LeBron in the playoffs playing at LeBron level for the majority of the time. Who do you see as that playmaker coming off the bench, or someone who can contribute when LeBron sits down and needs a break?
Well, I think KCP is definitely going to have to step up. I think Danny Green is going to have to step up. He was shooting more on the cold side as we got closer to the NBA season getting suspended. So hopefully he took this time to rejuvenate himself and he can come back strong. But I think honestly, the two latest additions to the team, Dion Waiters and J.R. Smith, I think they're going to have a serious impact on this team. It's the chemistry factor with J.R. Smith and LeBron. I think Dion Waiters, he's not afraid of the moment. He's never afraid to take a shot, and you need to have that confidence in the playoffs. You can't be afraid. Look at Kobe with the air balls in Utah and the confidence that instilled in him.
Yeah.
So I think it's this time in Orlando. First off, I think they're just happy to be back together. I think they're happy to be back together as a team, playing basketball again. And I think this team, they were on the verge of something special when the season got suspended, and I don't think they've forgotten that, and they know they have unfinished business.
Of course, yeah, you're right. They do have unfinished business. It's been such an up and down year for the team. They've gone through so many trials and tribulations, starting with being in China when the controversy came out as far as what Daryl Morey said, to obviously the passing of Kobe Bryant, to all the things that they did so well, like playing so well on the road, just such a tremendous road record. They've been playing so much overall, first in the Western Conference. The last weekend before the coronavirus stopped the NBA action, things were looking so well for Lakers fans because they had those back-to-back victories over Milwaukee and also over the Clippers. I mean, the things were just really getting in tune for the team and also its fans just before the coronavirus hit. I'm hoping they will recapture that momentum. I mean, if you hear LeBron and his confidence, I don't think anything's going to shake that man right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, when LeBron gets in that zero dark 23 mode come playoff time, he's a scary man to be in front of. And I mean, listen, people that know me, my track record with LeBron is well noted. I was very much a LeBron detractor before he came to the Lakers. But what's important to me is the name on the front of the jersey. And if he's going to be bringing banner number 17 back home to Los Angeles, I'm all for it.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more on that as far as what he can do and what he can contribute. We have been always talked about. In fact, recently it's been talked about, okay, is he a true Laker? In fact, that was approached to me on Couch Coach Live was, is LeBron, or do you think of LeBron as a true Laker? It's to like you. It's more about what's in front of the jersey than what's in back of it. He's a great player, one of the greatest of all time. He might have just been coming here as well, not only to improve the Lakers brand, but to improve his own brand, working in Hollywood and the deals he's signed since then. I mean, you've seen the great success that his production company has had with signing deals here in Hollywood, but no one can dispute now his focus, his mentality on what's going on going forward, especially since the Lakers were able to fortunately acquire Anthony Davis, and how those two have meshed so well together. I think when I go ahead and predict out there that I think the Lakers are going to win, I'm basing it solely off the fact that there's going to be enough help around those two, because those two as a 1-2 punch in the playoffs is going to be very tough to beat.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real here. If we're talking NBA Finals and we're putting duos up against duos, let's say it's Lakers Bucks, I'm taking LeBron James and Anthony Davis over Giannis Antetokounmpo and Chris Middleton 10 days out of the week, and there's only 7 days in a week. So it's that tandem. I mean, let's be real. Anthony Davis, if he's not defensive player of the year, they need to change how they vote. It's what he's able to do on the defensive end with his length, his athleticism, his speed, guarding multiple positions. It's if he's not defensive player, they need to. The system is rigged. But like you were saying, the help around them, I think everybody understands the gravity of the moment, and everybody knows that a lot of people are going to say this season has an asterisk on it because of the bubble or anything like that. And it was interesting. I believe it was Giannis Antetokounmpo. He said that this championship would probably be the hardest to win given the circumstances, and that's why there shouldn't be an asterisk. And I honestly agree with him.
I agree as well. Couldn't agree more.
But originally, with my thought process with the whole restarting the season, I was honestly against it. And it as much as I wanted to see the Lakers win championship number 17 this year, it just came down for me is there's just too much uncertainty with what's going on in the world. We don't know the outcome of any of this. We don't know what could happen if there's a mass outbreak in the NBA of coronavirus. There's too many uncertain scenarios to where I didn't think the risk was worth it, and I didn't want to jeopardize next season's schedule, because I'm a firm believer in trying to keep the calendar for next year the same, and obviously they're not going to do that, and I think it's going to eventually lead to the NBA moving the start date to the season to Christmas, which ultimately I think would be in their favor, but I'm kind of old school. But
no, I agree with you, because that's when usually, as you and I both know, the general audiences start. I mean, the NBA fans, the hardcore fans, we watch all 82 games, but you've heard it before from friends out there. Oh, I don't watch till Christmas, until the Christmas
it's less time to compete against football.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. And plus, it gives more of a buffer between the end of the season and the beginning of the next one for the players. Plus, you're able to shape everything out as far as the draft, as far as free agency, and get everything worked out. Still the salary cap has been undecided, because that could weigh in, because we don't know how far it's going to drop. 100%.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is a lot of these big contracts that have been given out over the past 2 to 3 years to a lot of these players. We're not going to see that anymore, because the salary cap is going to be so much lower than it had been projected to go, because of the loss of revenue from China and the loss of revenue from the impact of coronavirus, not having fans in the arena, merchandise sales going down, all of that. So the NBA is definitely in an interesting position, and it going back to my thought process on why I ultimately didn't want the NBA to start back up again. It's ultimately a money grab. That's all it is. And they can say they're trying to be as cautious as they are about controlling the bubble. I just still believe the uncertain scenarios and uncertain outcomes, it's not worth the risk. But that's just me.
I don't blame you, because there's been others who have said the same exact thing as far as the risk is concerned. And the league is spending $150 million when all is said and done, or thereabouts, on trying to do
150 million per day.
I thought it was 150 million overall, but it's still a hefty number. It's still, and obviously you are right. It is all about the television money, meeting the television contracts for 22 of the local market contracts, the television networks that
they need
have.
Their money.
Yep, the regional sports networks. That's why they're even thinking about doing a second bubble in Chicago, is to satisfy those regional sports networks, because they've had. It's all about money.
You think Steph and Clay are going to show up to a second bubble in Chicago?
No, Steph said it. Well, he didn't exactly say it 100%, but he outlined this would be a great job for the guys, a great time for the guys, a learning experience for the young guys and all that. He kept on emphasizing young guys, AKA not me, Draymond, or Clay.
He's like, we're not going to that.
No, he's going to stay on the golf course because he's doing very well there. So
yes, he is.
I don't see them. And although fans from those teams will still be starved for any kind of action. And I don't think that's a bad thing if they're able to go ahead and make it a confined bubble. But I understand your concerns on that, and I understand the trepidations a lot of people would have with that. And I understand a lot of people would be concerned about that because of the fact that it is something that we're seeing with the Orlando Soccer League bubble, where there's teams that they have to go ahead and send home. They have to go ahead and
FC Dallas had to drop their team out completely because they had so many positive tests.
9 players, I think.
Yeah, and there's 11 on a field at one time per team.
Yeah. So it's
that's crazy.
That is crazy, and they're not even doing it as strict as what the NBA is doing it. We've seen already 2 people have been suspended, or not suspended, I should say, quarantined for 8 to 10 days. Rajon Holmes,
and I think it was Kelly Oubre.
Kelly Oubre was telling. He was trying to provide the words of wisdom to Rajon Holmes to not do that. Yeah, and it was actually Rafael Barlow was mentioning how funny that is coming from his words, because we got to focus as a team. We got to focus as a team, and this was funny because Kelly Oubre's Jr.'s team is so far out of the playoff picture. They are the last of the teams.
Yeah, but what is Sacramento and Phoenix doing in the bubble in the first place?
I would say San Antonio and Phoenix, because Sacramento's still in that 3.5 game.
Oh, is Holmes now on San Antonio?
Holmes is now in Sacramento.
Okay.
But San Antonio and Phoenix are the 2 teams most behind in the playoff run on the Western Conference side. And already about Washington that is, depleted. 2 of their top players down, and they're basically 5.5 games out at this point in time. So,
yeah.
But I wanted to ask you this. While I got you here, if there's any team that you think the Lakers will match up, because it's pretty much a sure thing, because it's 5.5 game lead on the Clippers. And you and I both know that the Clippers will probably go ahead if they either lose.
They're going to take it easy.
Yeah, they're going to take it easy. So, who do you think is the matchup that's going to happen for the 1st to 8th seed?
The 1-8 matchup, I think. Yeah. Honestly, I think Memphis is going to be able to hold their ground. And I know the NBA wanted to include the Pelicans to get Zion in the bubble and all of that.
You think?
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, if they're going for a money grab, you got to put Zion in there. But I think it's ultimately going to be Memphis and the Lakers in the 1-8 matchup. I think John Morant and Jaren Jackson and that young core that they're building in Memphis, they have a scary future. And what Memphis is known for, that grit and grind mentality that they had for so many years with Marc Gasol, Mike Conley, and Zach Randolph, I think even though those guys aren't there anymore, I think the culture is still there. And John Morant, Jaren Jackson, and the young guys in Memphis, they understand that, and they feed off of that energy in Memphis. And Memphis it's a palpable sports town now because of those grit and grind Grizzlies back in the day. So I like Memphis a lot, but I don't think they stand a chance against the Lakers in a 1-8 matchup.
No, but I'm worried if Portland sneaks in there, because Dame Lillard, Dame Lillard can go off. He can really go off, and he can always provide havoc and provide a lot of problems out there. Mind you, I don't think they would beat the Lakers, but they would make it a lot tougher than a first round matchup would normally be.
Yeah, especially with Yusuf Nurkic coming back and them saying he looks just as good as he did before he got hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, looking back on that Nurkic-Jokic trade, I mean, it couldn't have worked out better for both sides, I think.
Exactly. And that's the problem, that they couldn't keep both of them together because they're similar type of styles. And
yeah,
it's just, you wish that could have happened for Denver fans out there, but it's worked out well for both teams. Obviously, with Jokic, whenever he does get into the bubble and at such a slimmer figure from what we're seeing in pictures.
I'm very interested to see what he looks like.
A lot of people are, because the fact is, did he lose all of his strength? Did he lose all of his positioning? I mean, did he lose all of his bulk that helps him as far as being able to go ahead and bang down the post? You know, people are worried about that in Denver, and I'm hearing those rumblings, but the man might be actually in better condition, which might help him out long term.
Definitely. I mean, we see the longevity of a big man's career keep getting shorter and shorter due to all sorts of knees and leg injuries. So if he's able to take any weight off of those legs, and it's why Zion Williamson, people were clamoring down on him to lose weight, because they want to see a long career from these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple more things I want to ask you before we head on out, and that again, I'm speaking to the Duke of Sports, Eric Sklar. You got to catch what he's doing today at AM 640 in Los Angeles on radio there, but also his awesome show, which again, I'm going to bring up for the Facebook Live viewers out there. It's the TSK Show, aka the Sports Kingdom Show. You can find it on every available podcast outlet. I'm showing it right here. He's got a ton of episodes that you can catch up with, not just on the Lakers, just so many different things when you're talking about the sports scene. Please catch it today. It's the TSK Show wherever you get your podcast. And I'll tell you what, you do a tremendous job there. I happen to have a chance to listen to a few episodes already.
Thank you.
And you've done such a great job. Please follow, like, subscribe, everything you can do to support his show. Be truly appreciated, including 5 stars as well for his show, because he does a great job and work for it. I want to ask you this before we head on out, and that is, we talked about Rajon Rondo hurting the finger, out for 6 to 8 weeks, talking about a replacement as far as the second ball handler, possibility of a playmaker in Dion Waiters. But one name that I wanted to throw out at you that's been kind of in hiding almost pretty much the entire season is Quinn Cook. Playoff experience, finals experience, with extended time, may be able to hit some three-pointers because he was brought here because he can hit the three-pointer, can handle the ball. Defensively is going to be about as good as Rondo was, which is not that good.
That's what hurts him.
But I want to hear your thoughts on him.
I mean, as much as I hate to say it, Laker fans really fell in love with Quinn Cook after Kobe passed, because they saw the admiration that Quinn had for Kobe and the way he looked up to him growing up as a Laker fan, and the connection Quinn and his father had with Kobe Bryant growing up. But Quinn is, I hate to say it, but it's almost like he's the forgotten Laker this year. And you even bringing him up right now, I forgot to mention him earlier when we were talking about the guard core. And I mean, listen, I hope there's a way to squeeze him into the rotation. I mean, Rondo was getting about 20 minutes a game. That's a good chunk of change to divvy up between KCP, Quinn Cook, Dion Waiters, J.R. Smith, Alex Caruso. So it's going to be interesting. I hope Quinn can make an impact. It's just a matter of if he can get out onto the floor.
I know he's been playing 2K with LeBron and AD.
I saw the clip last night.
It was so funny because, as I noted to Raphael, everybody's the virtual crowd that was following them with the Naruto run all the way back and forth.
Oh, so funny. And I mean, and you saw in the clip in the game, LeBron got one of his patented chase down blocks, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yes.
But and then real quick, going back to you promoting the Sports Kingdom show, we actually have episode 150 dropping this Wednesday, July 15th. We record every Wednesday night, and we put out episodes Wednesday nights. And episode 150, we started back in September 2017. So it's been a hell of a ride.
Well, congratulations to you on that. Before we head on out, we will make sure that you go ahead and plug everything you can that you've got working out there. So I'll make sure
Cool.
all my guests get all the time to go ahead and pub, because that's the way you get the word out. That's the way you get the word out to the public on all the great stuff that you're doing. And one last thing I want to ask you, because you obviously, if I ask you, okay, who's going to be in the finals, you're going to say it's the Lakers, and you're going to say it's the Lakers all the way, because I already have that feeling. I just have to look and see how devoted Lakers fan you are, and I can tell that. Who do you think they're going to match up against the finals, and who do you think will be the X factor for the Lakers in their championship run, or at least we hope the championship run?
Well, obviously, like you said, I think the Lakers are going to make it to the finals in the West, but in the East, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm actually going to go with the Boston Celtics. I think that with Jason Tatum coming into his own really the last 2 years, a lot of people are saying that it's Kemba's team because Jason is so young, but I think Jason Tatum, that's his team now. And with him, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Kemba Walker, the East is a very interesting mix of teams, and any given night, someone can beat someone else. And really, you could say that about the whole NBA, but I don't know if Milwaukee's supporting cast can support Giannis all the way through, if that makes sense.
Well, who on Milwaukee outside of Middleton and, of course, Giannis can get you big numbers if you need it? Whereas Boston,
the first person that comes to mind on Milwaukee is Eric Bledsoe, and that's a step down from any other player I would name on Boston.
Yeah, and that's something where even if Gordon Hayward is not leaving for the birth of his child, and he says he can pop a 20-point game.
Oh yeah, I mean Gordon Hayward. He's still living up to the contract he was given, but he deserved that contract before that injury for sure. Yeah. And my concerns with Philadelphia, obviously, it's a lot of the same concerns as everybody else. Can Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid coexist? I saw some stuff on Twitter today about Ben Simmons playing the 4 more now that they've been in Orlando, and obviously Joel Embiid at the 5. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do. I don't have really any faith in Ben Simmons. I'm not a Ben Simmons guy at all. Personally, I think he's shooting with the wrong hand. I think he should be shooting right-handed. But yeah, I mean, I don't think Philly has what it takes. I don't think Milwaukee's supporting cast can keep Giannis afloat for an entire championship run. And I mean, that core in Boston, they've been together for a couple of years now, especially those young guys all getting drafted within a couple of years of each other. And I think it's going to be Lakers-Boston. I have a strange suspicion the basketball gods are going to somehow reward us with another Lakers-Boston finals.
Wouldn't that be something if the last and final barrier for the Lakers on the road to number 17 would be the Boston Celtics?
It'd only be fitting.
But Kemba Walker, is he healthy? Is he not? We're getting mixed signals there. I think for the Celtics to go ahead and get to the finals, 2 things. Of course, Kemba Walker has to be healthy for them and play at a 1A level, but you have to have that superstar effort. You have to have from Tatum, you have to have that superstar effort continuously, like we've seen over the past few months against the way he played against the Lakers in LA. Yeah. He has to play like that in order to go ahead for them to go and get to the finals, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think with Kemba finally getting out of Charlotte and just that change of scenery, him finally getting that taste of the playoffs. And I mean, listen, as much as I hate the Celtics, I have the utmost respect for them as a franchise and as a rival because, listen, they got 17 and we got 16. And that's what matters. I think him being around that culture, that environment in Boston, I think it's going to take his play to another level. in the playoffs. And just as a basketball fan, and I'm a fan of Kemba Walker's game, I'm excited to watch him play if he's healthy.
Absolutely. So before we end on out, and before I give you I give you the floor to go ahead and take care of what you need to take care of as far as telling everybody what great things you've got in store for everybody out there. Who do you think will be the X factor for the Lakers on the road to another championship?
I think it's the guys whose jersey I'm wearing right now, and I think he's been the X factor this entire year, and it's Kyle Kuzma. It's been an up and down year for Kuz again. We haven't really seen the consistency a lot of people had hoped for, but I think now, especially with the addition of J.R. Smith and Dion Waiters, it takes the offensive pressure off of Kuzma. I think he plays so much better when he doesn't have all of that pressure on offense to make sure he has to get a bucket, and it doesn't have to disrupt the flow of the offense. If he's getting buckets in the flow of the offense, that's when he's best. And I also think he's a lot more important on the defensive end than the offensive end, especially in the scenario that we're in now.
How hard is it to say that, as you and I have seen in the past few months, him take a concerted step towards playing better defense? Because for the first 2 years, as much as we loved him on the offensive side of the ball, especially in that first year, defensively, he was atrocious. And I'm being very kind when I say that. But this year, he has stepped up. Frank Vogel has challenged him. I love the game in Houston when he was told, Westbrook, you guard him.
Yeah.
You put him out on the floor against
He took that challenge to heart.
Yeah. And he thrived off of it.
Yeah, no, he had an amazing performance that game. But I mean, with his length, his size, and his athleticism on defense, that's what the NBA is all about these days, is using your length and athleticism to your advantage on the defensive end to guard multiple positions. And Kuzma can guard multiple positions, but can he do it at a consistent basis? And can he perform on the offensive end on a consistent basis? That's still the biggest question mark with Kuz.
I'm hoping, my friend, because I love Kyle Kuzma as well. He was this seems like a really nice guy. Seems like just someone that you want to go ahead and want to win, because he's not been given everything. He wasn't the 5-star recruit. He wasn't the top draft choice. You saw where he was drafted in the first round. There's so many players ahead of him. And even when you hear people today, when he's not playing at the level you and I think that he can play at, you hear so many people discard him even to this day, as far as all the NBA pundits out there. Lakers fans, I don't want to say they've turned on him, but the fascination and shine with Kyle Kuzma, as we've had over the past 2 years, that's not there anymore right now.
No, their patience is growing thin. And I mean, listen, it's sports is a what have you done for me lately kind of business. And if you're not performing, it's the next man up. And if I would not be surprised if Kyle Kuzma doesn't have a performance up to what the Lakers are expecting of him. I would not be surprised if we don't see him on this team next year.
Yeah. Because if he does play well enough, either you try to help him achieve another level of greatness, or you use him as a rising asset that you can use for, trying maybe a better backups, or maybe even a third starter on the team. Excuse me, third starter on the team. Something that you can go ahead and use going forward. So you hope that Kyle Kuzma can go ahead and get it all together and become that X factor, because that's I've been telling people on other shows who the X factor has been as well. And it's just something that if he gives you enough on the offensive end, I think he can go ahead and give you 25 minutes out there of respectable basketball that can go ahead and help your team win and help the Lakers go ahead and achieve that level that you and I both think that they can do.
Yeah, and with Kuzma specifically, I don't think like people should be putting like a cap like, oh, Kuzma should be out there getting 15, 20 points a night. We need to look at the efficiency and the consistency first before we start trying to up the ante for him. We need to I think Lakers fans because of the rookie year, and this probably myself included, we kind of over expected what was to come, and he kind of realistically he just resorted back to the mean of where he is in his career in the NBA. So I think he just, there's not much more time left to give him, but maybe just a little bit more time, and he can find the right place to be, right fit on this team.
I hope so, because I'd like to see the kid given one more shot to at least go ahead and become a major contributor going forward for the Los Angeles Lakers.
Definitely.
Well, I'll tell you what, my friend, it's been great talking to you. I want to bring you back on again as the Lakers march forward in this bubble.
I'll be ready.
Hopefully it won't burst. I'm hoping.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. But before we head on out, I want to go ahead and hear all the great stuff that you're up to, because it's just such a tremendous thing that you're doing as far as for the TSK show and all the other things that you're doing out there. So I want to hear your thoughts, man. Please, your time, the floor is yours. What you up to, and how people should go ahead and best get a hold of you, or shout out some comments, shout out some Laker love, or anything they can do to support what you're doing.
So you can follow me on all of my social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at the Duke of Sports, as you can see in my name display on the screen, at the Duke of Sports. You can follow my podcast. It's a weekly sports podcast based here in Los Angeles. The Sports Kingdom Show, like Gerald was saying. You can follow us at TSK Show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. My co-hosts, Tyler Pacholke and Jacob Gonzalez, at Tyler Pacholke, at Jacob_Gonzalez. Two really good friends of mine. Tyler and I actually started the podcast together back in 2017, and we brought Jacob on board, who I went to college with and worked with at KFI AM 640. We brought Jacob along back in December of 2019. So it's been a wild ride. We got episode 150 dropping this Wednesday, July 15th, like I said. And you can check that out anywhere you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio app, Anchor, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Once again, that's the TSK Show, aka the Sports Kingdom Show. Again, wherever you listen to podcasts. If you listen to Apple, make sure you give them that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Please. Follow, subscribe, like. It's so interesting to see all these different apps do these different things to get you to go ahead and follow and make sure you get dropped that next episode, because there's a lot of things that you can do to support these podcasters like him, like myself, and we truly appreciate everyone who does so each and every time out. And congratulations once again on 150 episodes.
Thank you.
As someone who I'm getting up to 100 here on the Lakers Fast Break, and my other pop culture stuff, I know we're past 200 and all that.
Wow.
And it could be something where you can treat it as a chore, but I treat it as something I enjoy each and every time out.
100%. I have the best time whenever I get behind a microphone and can talk some sports. It's what I want to do for my career. I want to host my own sports talk radio show, and it's why I started the Sports Kingdom Show. So it's been a pleasure being on the Lakers Fast Break podcast. I want to thank you, Gerald, for having me. I want to thank that Sports Podcasters Facebook group for bringing us together for this podcast. I think that Facebook group is doing wonders for a lot of people, and it's a great place for guys like us and other people in the podcast world, sports podcast world, to connect.
I agree 100%. I want to give a big shout out to the Facebook group, Sports Podcasters and Sports Broadcasters. Just so much great information there. Also, as well, people participating, they're helping each other out. It's just so awesome to see, because I know you and I are probably just on dozens and dozens of Facebook groups, and there are many that there's like Zippo. You hear crickets when you go ahead and suggest something, or
there's hundreds of posts a day in this. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's great there. I cannot thank them enough. I mean, I just put it out there. I'd like some guests, like some different people to talk to, and my gosh, the response, you first and so many others, I cannot thank them enough for doing so. Cannot thank you enough for being a part of it. And I want to bring it back on. I wish you continued success. I'm hoping you will get your own show and be able to go ahead and voice on an even larger community out there.
Your mouth to God's ears, my friend.
Oh, I'm hearing you, my friend. That's just so awesome to hear you. You know, you're talking about the Lakers, you're talking about the sports, you're talking about so many great things on the TSK show. I'm looking forward to hearing more great stuff from you. I'm looking forward to having you back on the show. And I
can't wait to be back.
Oh, you will be. Oh, rest assured.
You let me know when, and I'll be here.
Well, let's hope Rondo won't break any more fingers first. So
well, I hope so.
Yes. And hopefully nobody will break quarantine. LeBron, don't go for the delivery food. Don't cross that Disney line.
They can come to the hotel property. Just don't step foot off the property.
Yes,
like,
don't do
it's
a
okay.
Rajon Holmes. Don't do a Rajon Holmes. That's all I ask. But I truly appreciate the time you've given me, my friend. And thank you so much for being part of the Lakers Fast Break podcast.
Thank you so much.